Hey guys, Fan back again. Today we're going to be covering everything you need to know about the Paragon boards in Diablo 4 in under 10 minutes. It's going to be a comprehensive guide, but I don't want to waste your time, so let's get started. First, let's get started with the basics here. So the way you move on the Paragon board is you can go up, down, left, or right. You cannot go diagonal. So keep that in mind first of all. Second of all, there are four different kind of nodes that you can pick up in the Paragon board. The first one is going to be these normal nodes, which are gray. They just give you 5 of a certain stat. Next one is going to be magic, which is going to be blue. It's going to be more powerful. Next one is rare. It's going to be yellow and even more powerful. And rare nodes actually have a bonus if you can meet a certain requirement. All of the nodes will have this, and the requirement will be a threshold of a certain stat. So for this one, it's going to be intelligence. You can see we need 160 intelligence. If we get to 160 intelligence on our character, then we get another 10% damage on this node in addition to the initial 10% damage that's already on there. So that is going to be something that you really have to keep in mind. And furthermore, this is going to be very important because the requirement is going to be increased every single board. So the more boards you have, the higher this requirement will be. And I believe it is always going to be 90 every board is going to be 90 stats more expensive than the previous one. So on the first board, if we need 160 intelligence, on the second board, whatever rare node requires intelligence, it's going to require 250 plus 90. And then on the third board, it's going to be plus 90 on top of that. And it's not only intelligence, as you can see, it might be strength, it might be dex. So you have to individually look at all of the rare nodes. But keep in mind the requirement because that will be important. Now, why is that important? Well, for example, on my rogue, my main stat is going to be dexterity followed by intelligence because intelligence gives me critical hit chance. So I'll have by far the most dexterity because that's the main stat, and then I'll have a lot of intelligence, but I won't have much strength or willpower because those stats don't give me as many bonuses. So with that in mind, I need to look at all the rare nodes. And if there's some rare node that I really like, such as this one that requires strength, I'm going to want that to be one of the earlier boards on my Paragon in order to make the requirement as low as possible because I will not have much strength even at max level, right? So if I really want a rare node with strength, I want it to come earlier to have a lower requirement, and then I can have my dexterity rare nodes be way later on because I'll have way more dexterity, so I'll be able to fulfill that requirement even if it's a higher number later on. Now, moving on here, the pathing will also be very important in how you do this. First of all, right off the bat, we have a choice here. We can either move to the left or move to the right. I chose to move to the left because the left is 10% damage, whereas this right path would give me 4% all resistance. I value damage more, so I'm going to make the choice to go to the right here, pick up the damage slot, and even something such as this, right? We're trying to get to the glyph because the glyphs are very powerful, and we want to pick up as many of these as we can on our way to the next gate. But here, I can either go up to the glyph or I can go left to the glyph, right? And this matters as well because if I want more intelligence, I'll go up. If I want more dex, I'll go left. And this comes back to the requirements on the rare nodes. If you're missing some intelligence, then maybe you want to go up. If you're not, maybe you want to go to the left for more dex, right? But even on top of that, willpower is a stat that does nothing for my class. So I'm just going to avoid the willpower and actually just go this way, get one of each. Now, moving on to glyphs. Glyphs are very, very powerful. You can read what they do here, but there's going to be a lot of different glyphs for every single class. And they're going to do something very powerful, kind of similar to legendaries. So for this closer glyph, it says for every 5 dexterity within range, my cutthroat skills will do 2% more damage at level 1 of the glyphs. And I'm going to take 10% less damage while I'm wielding a melee weapon. Now, a couple things to keep in mind for the glyphs here. First, there's a requirement. You can see we need 40 dexterity within the radius. Once you pick the glyph on the build planner websites, you can see the radius. It's basically 4 by 4. And you got to make sure that there's enough dexterity within the radius in order for you to actually use the glyph. Now, a lot of these planners will have the number of stats calculated on exactly how much is in the radius. So here I already know I have 70 dex within the radius, so I don't have to worry about the requirement anymore. Uh, but since I want to max out this bonus, because not only is it 2%, it's 2% at level 1, but as you upgrade the glyphs, they also increase in terms of how much damage they deal. So it can deal all the way up to 9.6% damage at max level 20 for every 5 dex. So we want to pick up all the dexterity in this case. So we're just going to route the most efficient possible route to pick up all of these dexterity nodes, which should be something like this. And don't forget, a lot of the rare nodes also have your main stat on them, so I got to pick up these ones for additional dexterity as well. And once again, we have another choice to make here. Do we want to go out this way, get more armor, or do we want to go out this way, get more damage? I like more damage, so I'm going to go out towards the left here. And that is basically how you would deal with the glyphs. Now, keep in mind the glyphs actually start with a very small radius, but as you level it up, the radius will expand, and what you're looking at here is most likely going to be the max radius of the glyph. That's the red outline. So now we made it to the second board. What do we have to worry about on the second board? Well, we can choose whichever board we want. So let's say we want Tricks of the Trade, where alternating our skills will give 25% increased damage for both skills for the rogue, just as an example. Now, a couple things to keep in mind when you move on to the next board. The first one is we finally get to see a legendary power. So this is what the legendary node looks like, right? So the second thing is we need to keep in mind that we can rotate the boards. So if we want to rotate the board, why does that matter? Well, if I go from here to the legendary node, it's actually very inefficient. It's going to take me about 20 squares, 20 points just to get to this legendary node from this angle. But if we rotate the board, we can actually, we could see instead of taking 20 points, if it's this entrance that we're using, it'll only take, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12, something like 12 points in order for us to get to the legendary node, which is a lot more efficient, right? Now, you have to do the same thing for the glyph as well. So depending on which one you want first, if you want the glyph first, then you don't want this angle anymore, right? If you want to get the glyph power first, then perhaps it would be better to rotate the board again and do something like this, where you can get to the glyph right away. And if you want both of these powers, then you'll have to count the number of points it'll take you in order to efficiently path to both of them. Now on this board, it happens to be the same no matter which entrance you go, but that will not be the case on every board, so make sure to count that. And let's say that we want both the glyph here. We're going to take a glyph, just a random one for demonstration purposes, and we want the legendary, right? So it'll look something like this. Now, if the glyph requires that I have strength, then I'm going to want to do the same thing I did in the last board. I'm going to want to pick up all the strength here, and then I'm going to want to kind of, try to get out onto the next board as fast as possible. And that in that case, you want to count a little bit again. So here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It would take me 6 points to get to the board attachment gates. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points to get to the next board from this angle, right? So if this was my board, I would probably want to go out towards the right and pick another board here. So that's the basics of the Paragon board. Basically, everything you need to worry about is right here. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll catch you in the next one.